it can't simply be about me doing a show just because I want to do a show. If that makes any sense. It has to be about the audience. And at the end of the day, what's best for the audience isn't me doing the show. What's best for the audience is to have the folks from VEASAN who are going to have people at the draft, to have them doing the show is just much smarter. It's better radio. It's, having guys there at the draft as opposed to me sitting here in Palm Springs, California. It just doesn't make sense. So they'll be here doing the show. I will have the night off. I will also do the same on Friday. Those guys will handle the hosting duties. And yeah, that's the way we're going to do it this week. Boy, oh boy. All right, all that said, who cares about any of that, right? Jimmy Butler is putting together a performance for the ages and single-handedly willing the Miami Heat to a situation where they're looking at a 2-2 tie in this best of 7 Eastern Conference opening round series, which I don't know anybody who had that on their scorecards for the first round of the NBA playoffs. I certainly didn't. I have no problem admitting I would have picked, and I did pick, the Milwaukee Bucks to win this series, especially based on what I saw from Miami in the series. Well, I mean, look, I watched them in the series against, not the series, but in the first play-in tournament game. I watched them in the first play-in tournament game. They were so bad, there was no way I could possibly pick them to go far in the postseason. They got through the second one because they were playing against Toronto, who would then go and fire their head coach. But after watching the Miami Heat at home against Chicago, I believe it was. I can't remember. But Miami was so bad. It was unbearable. So I couldn't pick them after what I saw. And it's funny, as good as Jimmy Butler has been now in the first 4 games of this series, Jimmy Butler was an abject disaster in the first play-in tournament game against Toronto. And then he has completely turned it around since then. Beat, I don't know, was it Toronto or Chicago? I don't remember. But they lost to Chicago and then they beat Toronto. That's what I think it was. Something like that. I don't remember. But he was so bad in the first play-in tournament game. And now you're talking about a situation where the first 4 games of this postseason, he's probably been the best player in this postseason. And I say that with all apologies to a lot of guys who have done some nice things, but Jimmy Butler has been extra special. Let me see what he's got tonight and get the updated tally on Butler in this game. Jimmy Butler is up to 53 on only 28 shots. I mean, that's an efficient 53. In 40 minutes, 19 of 28. And let me tell you, in a year in the NBA where guys are putting up 50 burgers like it's nothing, this is a different kind of 50 burger. A playoff 50 burger doesn't hit quite the same as a regular season, especially in this era of the NBA, a 50 burger in this era of the NBA during the regular season. This is a extra special effort. And just to tell you how much of the Miami Heat offense Jimmy Butler has been tonight, Bam Adebayo's got 15, Vincent's got 10, Martin off the bench has 12, and that's it. That's all you got. I mean, that's all you need to know about what Jimmy Butler is doing in this game. Extra special sort of effort tonight. All right, the phone number, if you want to be a part of the show, is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. If you want to tweet at us, it's at the back page. If you want to hit me up throughout the show on the text line, you can do that too, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549 if you want to hit us up on the text line as we roll through the show as well. So, a lot going on tonight. As I said, we'll keep you posted on all the playoff action. If you're watching us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, any of the platforms we're on, YouTube, we're on all of them. If you want to check out the video feed of the show, we now have a streaming ticker at the bottom of the video feed, so you don't have to miss anything. Yeah, thank you. I know. I think it's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of geeked about it. It's kind of neat to be able to give people a different way to see what's going on while they're watching the show. So you'll see the scores of all the games going on tonight in the NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. It's good stuff. Playoffs, all good stuff. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the big news of the day, and that is obviously the Aaron Rodgers deal. We're going to do that coming up in about 23 minutes, so that's the reason I didn't bring it up here to start the show. We've got Matt Verderam joining us from SI.com, our NFL insider here on this show. Matt Verderam will stop by. We'll get his thoughts on what the ultimate package wound up looking like for Aaron Rodgers as it pertains to his departure from Green Bay to the New York Jets. But I refused tonight because this is the NBA playoffs. This is a time of the year where it's all about the NBA postseason. And you know what? We'll have the draft on Thursday and Friday, and this time slot will cover it. But I didn't think it was fair on a night where you've got one of the all-time great NBA postseason performances, that you've got Jimmy Butler putting up 55 now. 55 on Milwaukee, single-handedly getting this series tied at 2 games apiece. I didn't think it was fair to start the show with you-know-who that we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, really, it feels like, for the last several months. So we talked about, we'll get into it coming up, because there are definitely some aspects to this whole deal that I guess it tells you why it took so long to get done. By the way, you know who's rooting hardest tonight for the Miami Heat? You know who's got a rooting interest? The New York Knicks. Boy, let me tell you, there are 2 teams in this postseason that things are breaking right for. One is the Lakers, because of the Ja Morant injury, then Dylan Brooks acting the fool. Everything's broken right, it feels like. Everything's broken right for the Lakers down the stretch of this season. But another team where it's all breaking really well for could be the Knicks. Because if Milwaukee somehow gets beaten in the first round, you're talking about a Knicks-Miami Heat Eastern Conference semifinal series. And all of a sudden, the path to the Eastern Conference Finals, if you're the New York Knicks, looks pretty damn good. And you get to avoid Philadelphia until potentially the Eastern Conference Final, if you have to wind up playing them at all, depending on what they do against the Boston Celtics. So, the Knicks, big fans of the Miami Heat right now. You wouldn't typically say that. Knicks and Heat, there's usually a pretty big rivalry there. But right now, I'd say the Knicks are pretty stoked about what's going on in the Eastern Conference, given the Miami Heat's struggles, or the Milwaukee Bucks struggles here against the Miami Heat. All right, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Again, text us if you want to hit up the text line. We'll take your texts on Aaron Rodgers. 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549 if you want to hit us up there. There is more postseason basketball to talk about. Everybody's probably expecting me to come on the air and eat crow about the Warriors, but I'm not. I still think the Kings beat the Warriors. I'll explain why coming up in a couple of minutes. Justin Barbosa is our producer-engineer, pushing all the buttons in Houston tonight. I'm Jason Page. We're just getting started. The cash-in on this Monday. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. What up? What's going on, dog? Oh, lucky you. Mike, lucky you, man. Lucky you. That too. Gotta find out what is wrong with my video feed tonight. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Yeah, really. Alright. Check. There it is. Okay. I was having an issue with my microphone on the video feed. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, we made some big changes since Thursday of last week. All right, quarter past the hour. My apologies in the first segment if I seemed a little scatterbrained. I was trying to fix a technical issue with the video feed, and when you run everything on my end, that means it can always get a little hairy. So we got that figured out. So for those of you watching on the video side at Twitter, at the back page, on Twitch, Jason Page 77, on YouTube, Decibel 88, or on Facebook, The Jason Page. Everything's okay now. my apologies. It's all over in Miami, where Jimmy Butler put up a performance for the ages. Miami beats Milwaukee despite the return of Giannis Antetokounmpo. 119, 114. I apologize. I said 2-2 would be, it's 3-1 now, Miami. I mean, they have Milwaukee on the precipice of going home. So my apologies on that. And again, this would be a colossal upset when you think about this NBA postseason and, you know, what all the prognosticators had to say. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk you'd be talking about a Milwaukee team that went 58-24, had the best record in the NBA, could be going home from a team that was in the play-in tournament? Could happen. This is what Miami does. I mean, when Jimmy Butler's playing at this level, and now all the pressure, all the attention shifts to Milwaukee, and how will they respond down 3-1 in that series. Brook Lopez tonight. Brooks Lopez had 36 and 11 in the loss for Milwaukee. Giannis had 26 on 12 of 22 shooting. But it's Milwaukee that finds itself down 3-1 in that best of 7 Eastern Conference series. And I think the percentages, I think it's like 95% of the time the team that's up 3-1 wins the series. The Knicks are in that same boat. And again, if you're the Knicks right now, you got to love the situation you're in. Got to love the situation you're in if you're the Knicks. Up 3-1. Other than game 2 where they got pushed around quite a bit by Cleveland, how good have the New York Knicks been in this series against the Cleveland Cavaliers? Defensively, locking it down in ways that we haven't seen since like the old school Knicks. The Knicks have given up something like 175 points over the last 2 games to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And say this is the time where Donovan Mitchell's got to show up. Yeah, you know, Garland's a great player, and he has been inconsistent at times in this series. But ultimately, this is why you went and got Donovan Mitchell in the offseason. You know, Darius Garland was already on this team. You went and got Donovan Mitchell for moments like this, down 3-1. You're going to lose on your home floor? You're going to get sent packing, going to Cancun? You're going to do that on your home floor? Start your offseason way earlier, I think, than anybody could have anticipated? Yikes. Can only imagine how fans in Cleveland are feeling about that prospect after all the excitement that went with getting Donovan Mitchell, the big numbers he put up this year, could be an all-NBA first-teamer. All of that, and Milwaukee could be, or rather Cleveland could be headed home. And I'm telling you, Knicks Miami in the next round, I'd take the Knicks. Tell you right now, I'll take the Knicks. You can be talking about the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals against potentially Philadelphia or Boston, depending on obviously what happens with the Celtics and the Hawks, which looks like it's going to go the way of the Celtics. 1-800-224-2004 is the telephone number, 800-224-2004. You can text at us, 888-670-8549. We'll do the Aaron Rodgers talk coming up in 10 minutes with Matt Verderam. He's in our 2-for-1 spot tonight, so you'll get him coming up in 10 minutes. SI.com's NFL Insider. We'll hear from him. Yeah, I apologize, guys, about the stream. Somebody just said... Somebody just sent me a thing saying the audio was messed up. Looks like we got it fixed up. James in Detroit, Michigan, texting the show as well to tell me that Miami's up 3-1. Thank you. Got it. Much appreciated. Hey, Jason, I did some live bets over the weekend. Got to say, not as much fun by myself. Need you to make the call on the games. Have a good show. That's from Jerry in Louisville, Texas. Appreciate that, Jerry. Love you guys checking in. All right. Look, Warriors, give them all the credit in the world. They have battled back from a 2-0 deficit to get this thing to 2-2. But the reality is this. They still have to prove they can win a road game that matters.
They won 9 times during the regular season on the road. 9 times. They won 11 for the season. The last 2, I don't count them because they were playing games that didn't even matter against teams that were mailing it in, tanking, so to speak, or didn't need the game in the case of one of them against Sacramento. I'm not convinced that the Warriors can win a road game right now. I'll tell you this, though. As much as I picked Sacramento to win this series, if the Warriors win game 5 of that series back in Sacramento, it's over. It's a wrap. Kings got to stop the bleeding. They have to stop it now. And, the announcer said it, so I don't want to sound like I'm piggybacking off of them or copying what they say on the TV broadcast the other day. But the reality is the Warriors looked like a team, sans the mistake from Stephen Curry calling a timeout when he didn't have one. Outside of that, the Warriors looked like a team that was used to being in that position, that was comfortable being in that position, and the Kings looked like a team that outside of De'Aaron Fox, who now has basically a broken finger that he's dealing with, the Kings looked like a team that, I've had this conversation in the past about teams like the Kings. And in so many instances, even Michael and the Bulls had to lose to the Pistons once before they were able to turn the corner, learn from it, and then eventually they vanquished the Pistons in one of the uglier rivalries of that generation. You see it all the time in sports. Teams that have to get over the hump. Teams that have to understand what it takes to win. And sometimes you can only figure that out by losing. I think the Kings are good enough to beat the Warriors. I've still picked them to beat the Warriors. But at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. And we just saw it with, Milwaukee and Miami. We just saw a situation where, this, Jimmy Butler put up this monster performance. That's the kind of stuff you get in the postseason. Those kinds of special performances. Milwaukee felt like they had that game wrapped up. They were up 10 with like 5 minutes to play. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler exploded. And he just made everything. I mean, the Bucks have to be shell-shocked right now, going back to Milwaukee, down 3-1 in this series. They have to be shell-shocked with what's taking place. I mean, would you pick against the Miami Heat right now? Remember, they won game 1 largely with Giannis Antetokounmpo on the floor. They outplayed Milwaukee. Then they lose game 2 without Giannis. They win game 3 without Giannis back in Miami. Giannis comes back for game 4. Now all of a sudden it's 3-1. It's got to be a lot of second guessing from this Milwaukee team. They've got to be wondering, how did they get into this situation? Did they take Miami? Did they not take them seriously enough? I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions asked about this Milwaukee team if they go down in the first round of this series. Remember, this is a Milwaukee team. Didn't make a lot of moves at the deadline. Milwaukee largely stayed pat. They stood right where they were and said, we're resting on our, not resting on our laurels, but we're resting in the comfort of the lineup we have and the roster we have. Now, all of a sudden, that may not look like the right move. All right, we'll do some NFL on the other side. Matt Verderam will join us. We'll get his thoughts. SI.com NFL Insider. The trading of Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, big story of the sports day. We'll tackle it coming up in a couple of minutes. I'm Jason Page, the Cash In. Rolling along on this Monday at SportsMap Radio. All right. Yo, bro. You hear me?
Yep.
Turn your thing sideways.
Okay. Let's see. It doesn't matter which way.
Yeah, sideways is sideways. Shit going sideways. And they ultimately did. Spending some time with Matt Verderam joins us here on the Cash In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. All right, just for a moment here. What do the Packers look like? Where do they go in the draft now? When you consider who their quarterback is, they've now put their eggs in the Jordan Love basket. Try and analyze what happens next year for Green Bay.
So I think for the Packers, if you're Jim Brian Gutekunst, I think now it's about trying to build around Jordan Love. Get him another weapon. You know, maybe you look on the defensive side of the ball and say, okay, where can we fill in? I mean, do you get another edge rusher to play opposite Rashawn Gary? You know, Preston Smith is there. How long is he there? I think their secondary, the corners are solid. Do you maybe, I would normally say you look for a safety in this draft. This draft is awful at safety, so I don't think you're going deep at safety. I think you're trying to build up the offense. Maybe you look for a tight end. I mean, Robert Tonyan is no longer there. Maybe you go after his replacement early. There's a lot of options in this draft. It's very deep at tight end. Maybe you look at, hey, do we try to go out and add on the offensive line, get better up front? You know, David Bakhtiari at this point could very well be his last year in green and gold. So I think that makes the most sense. Insulate Love, build around him, get better on that side of the ball, give him the best chance to succeed, because that also then helps you to understand next year, or I should say at the end of this year, okay, look, either Love's our guy, that's great, we feel good about that, we've got extra picks to build around him with, or, you know what, he's not the guy, and we know that because we surrounded him with decent talent, and it didn't work out, but now we've got these extra picks, and we can go out and try to get somebody to replace him, and we got a good team around that young quarterback.
Spending some time with Matt Verderam, SI.com, joins us here on the show, getting some thoughts with him surrounding this Green Bay Packers team, now the move they have made with the Jets, obviously with Aaron Rodgers getting sent packing. And, Gutekunst says they're not rebuilding, so be very interesting to see. It's funny. Here's the funny thing. You talk about a team like the 49ers, and we don't even know who the hell their quarterback's going to be next year. Brock Purdy, what's going on with the arm, Trey Lance. Yep. What are they going to do? And yet still, they are admired in Vegas. The odds makers still love them, despite the fact that the most important position, arguably in all of sports, is so unsettled for this team. Tells you just how good the supporting cast is around whoever they put at that position. It's just remarkable to me. I've never seen anything like it. I can't ever remember a year where a team has been, a top 5 favorite, basically to win the Super Bowl, without anybody even knowing who the quarterback's going to be.
No, they're ridiculously loaded. I mean, they have all pros legitimately in every position room meeting on the field except for quarterback. Everywhere. Running back, tight end, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, safety, so DBs, everywhere. It's outrageous. And in a lot of cases, multiple guys in each room. Like it's staggering, but the question becomes how far can you get with a quarterback room like that? And the answer recently has been far, real far, not far enough. I still think if you're the 49ers, you got to figure this out. You got to figure it out at quarterback, which is why I really think they could have been dangerous for Rodgers here. I know people float the Lamar Jackson stuff. They can't afford Lamar Jackson with all his other salaries. But they could have afforded a $16 million cap hit with Aaron Rodgers. That they could have done. And that's what it would have been if they had acquired him via trade. But wasn't to be, because the Jets gave up more than I think most people thought they should have gave up.
Is the Brady thing still floating out there?
My understanding, and I think I shouldn't say it's my understanding. From reading about that situation, it seems that he's either the Dolphins or nowhere else.
Really?
Now, maybe some of that. Yeah, and I think, and I'm not him.
I mean, I've seen the Dolphins stuff, so I don't want to act like I'm surprised about it. But I am surprised that it's Dolphins or bust.
I think, and I'm not him. I don't want to speak for him, but I wonder if some of that has to do with the fact, everything going on in his personal life. Like his family's in Florida. Does he want to relocate all the way across the country? It's not like he's going to go play in Carolina. It's like it's all the way out. Now, maybe that's not a factor. Maybe it is. I can't speak to that. I'm not him. But just thinking from a human being standpoint, maybe for him that's something that would be a deal breaker. Now, of course, he's from the San Francisco area, so that in that regard, you look at it and go, "It's a perfect fit. It's a dream come true." But it sounds like it's Miami or it's retirement, and right now, I think it's probably retirement unless something happens.
Give me a thought on the draft after number 1. Is this the most unpredictable draft we've seen?
Probably. I've asked a lot of people in the league about this. Like, why is there such a thought that there's going to be so much volatility in this draft? I think a lot of people sit there and say, well, look at, let's say take receivers, for example. I think Jackson Smith in the Jeep is probably the number 1 guy on most boards. If I asked 10 GMs to rank 2 through 6 on their board, I guarantee you every one of them is different. It's just, and that's not just at receiver. That's in a lot of positions. Tight end, corner, once you get past the very, very cream of the crop with Witherspoon and Gonzalez. It's across the board. There's so much that you just don't know. And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Can I hold you for a minute? I wasn't going to, but could I?
Sure.
You sure?
Listen, I'm here. You got me captive. I'm not going away.
Matt Verderam's going to come back with us. I want to finish a couple of draft thoughts with him. The caching continues on SportsMap Radio. You sure? No, I changed my mind. I'm not coming. I'm not going to come back for the next segment. Just talking during the break with Matt Verderam. He's headed to the draft on Thursday with no idea what to expect. I mean, it's really one of the most unexpected draft scenarios. I mean, you've got remember when this whole thing started, as we started to work through the winter and then the spring, Will Levis's stock was dropping. There was talk he might not even be the third quarterback taken. Now there's talk he could be the second quarterback taken. Like, it's just all over the charts right now.
Let me say this, okay, which I guess is embarrassing to me and also my immediate brethren, but it's true. We don't know anything about the draft. I always laugh when people say stuff with like unbelievable amounts of conviction, which, by the way, is kind of my brand. Like, that's simply what I do. But in this case, you don't know. You're not in the room with these people. You don't know what trades are going on behind the scenes. You have no idea what some guy's board is. I don't care how good of a source you have in the front office. You think they're taking a picture of their draft board and sending it over to you? Like, you don't know the truth. And you know, all it takes, and this is a cliche, but it's so true. All it takes is one team to just love some guy. And that's how you end up with Cole Strange in the first round. That's how that happens. That's how Damon Arnett's a first round pick when everybody else in the world thought he was going to be pick number 70. Right? Like, because you know what? The Raiders just woke up on that Thursday and said, you know what? Damon Arnett's a pretty good player out of Ohio State. I mean, it happens. When the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes, there were multiple outlets that gave them an F and said that they reached. And you know what? Those people weren't crazy at the time by popular thought. A lot of people thought they reached. And a lot of people felt like Mitchell Trubisky was the safest quarterback in that draft. And that's because none of us know a damn thing about the NFL draft, which is what makes it fun. It's what makes it interesting. And it really makes it fun when you look back in 5 years and go, can you believe that guy got to the fourth round? Or can you believe somebody took that guy sixth overall? That's part of it. That's the fun of it.
Do you believe Rand Carthon, the Titans GM, when he says they haven't had any calls, they haven't been taking calls on Derrick Henry?
I believe that they're not in a place where they have like a bunch of bidders because, look, Derrick Henry's a great player. He's a running back who's on the back end of his career. I don't care how great he is. Like, at some point, the wheels are coming off that bus. He's a great player. I don't think that they're going to get the value back for him that makes it sensible to trade him. Now, could be wrong. Could get a team that could just say, hey, we'll give you a second round pick. But if you're the Titans, like, don't you at least need a second to trade him? I mean, don't you at least need that? Because if you trade him, what is your franchise? What jerseys are you selling at the team store? And I know people would say, well, that shouldn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. Owners care about that stuff. And I just think with him, you at least have an offensive identity. Without him, it's Ryan Tannehill and what? And I just think you need to get value back where you can at least go to your fans and go, hey, listen, we had to make this move. And I think that value is going to be a second. I don't know how many teams are going to give them a second round pick.
I'm wondering, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because on Friday we had this breaking news story about these guys that got suspended for violating the league's gambling violations and all that stuff. Now that it's had a few days to settle, what are the reverberations from this around the league?
I think it's a lot of the same stuff, with when Ridley got popped, which is, look, you all know the reality of this. I mean, every player in the league knows. You cannot gamble on the NFL. You cannot gamble on other sports. Now, I've seen a lot of pushback with, you should be able to gamble. Why can't they? First of all, anybody who thinks you should be able to gamble on the NFL is insane. Okay? That is a question of the integrity of the game. The NFL is right to hammer these guys anytime somebody bets on NFL games. I don't have a problem with some guy in the league betting $10 on Heat Bucks. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I don't know why that matters. But I wrote a piece for us after all that happened and kind of breaking down like the tenets of the gambling policy. If you play fantasy football and you're an NFL player, you cannot play daily fantasy football. You also can play in a league that runs throughout the course of the year, but you can't win a cash prize more than $250. So they have very strict rules, and these are, by the way, made very clear to every player at the beginning of the year. It's posted in every facility. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I have no sympathy for any of these guys who get popped for this stuff. You have to know better than this. And yet guys don't. And so, look, I think it's just going to be a thing where teams take the opportunity, agents take the opportunity to talk to the players and say, look, read the gambling policy. Know it backwards and forwards, because if you get popped for this, nobody's coming to your defense. And these guys who just did it, these 5 who got suspended, 4 in Detroit, 1 in Washington, find that out the hard way.
Last one before I let you go. Back to, it kind of relates to the draft as well. I was reading an interesting article over on one of your competitors today about how NIL rules have, in particular, thinned out the NFL draft QB class. But I wonder in general how NIL is going to make the jobs harder for scouts, because at some of these bigger schools where these kids are getting paydays to stay in school now and help teams win national championships, how much more difficult is that making it for scouts and talent evaluators who might have to go next level, even next level beyond that, to find draft talent, especially when you start getting later in the draft?
So we could spend an hour talking about all this stuff, but the NIL deals obviously have changed the face of college football, in the sense that you're going to have guys transferring more because guys are going to want to be able to get their faces out there and be starters and get deals, and they're not going to want to sit behind some guy for 2 years. They don't want to do that, not if they're a big prospect. But I think in terms of how it relates to the NFL draft, you're right. I mean, if you're a player and you're making $1 million, why the hell would you come out and go to the NFL? For what? I mean, stay in college, keep rolling. Now, depends on your situation. You may be making that money, but you might also say, hey, look, I want to get that $25 million guaranteed as soon as humanly possible, right? Because I need to lock in and feed my family and take care of my parents and whatever else the case may be. If you're a guy, though, who's well off, or you come from an area where you don't have to worry about stuff like that, you're probably staying and partying for 4 years and getting $1 million a year, right? Like, why wouldn't you? So I do think it changes that. I also think it becomes interesting, like how, I think as an evaluator, you've got to really work into the motivations of the player you're looking at. And some people might say it's not fair, but I think that's absolutely fair. Like, you need to know, look, does this guy play football because he loves football and the money is just a really nice side benefit? Or is this guy playing football because he just wants some money and, like, he already made $5 million and I don't know how motivated he's going to be by the time he rolls into camp? I mean, that's a real question. So I think that's the tricky part. It adds a lot of layers to all this stuff, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Matt Verderam, check out his work, SI.com. Does a great job on the NFL. Follow him at the draft. He'll be there on Thursday and Friday for the first couple of days of that. And again, SI.com. Go and check him out. Matt, I always appreciate it, my friend. Be well.
You got it. Take care, Jason.
Matt Verderam joining us on the show. So very interesting to get his thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers stuff. And again, if you missed it, the deal, if you caught, sort of the end of this conversation that we had with Matt Verderam, there was the Jets wound up giving up a lot more than I would have thought. So Rodgers goes to the Jets, 2023 first round pick goes with him. 2023 first round pick, which is number 15. 2023 fifth round pick, which is number 170, goes to the Jets. The Jets give up their first round pick at 13, a second round pick in 2023, which is number 42, and then a sixth round pick and a conditional 2024 second round pick that becomes a first round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays this season. I mean, that's one hell of a load. I mean, I think the Packers got about as much as you could possibly get when you consider they just traded away a guy that's going to be 40 years old during the next NFL season. I mean, it's hard to argue that the Packers could have done much better than they did. They get the 13th pick. They get all these extra picks. And it gives you an opportunity to put some talent around Jordan Love, assuming you can do a good job on the scouting front and bring in some talent. But boy, there is something to be said about what Jordan Love is about to step into. We'll get to that, and we'll get to the other side of all of this, which is Aaron Rodgers is now a New York Jet. Life moving forward for the Packers and the Jets. We'll start the next hour with that on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Another hour of the show starts right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. We'll keep tabs on the Lakers and the Grizzlies. Lakers up 42-30 on Memphis with a chance to go up 3-1 in that 2-7 matchup. Not shocked. I'm just not shocked. Again, everything's kind of broken right for the Lakers. The injury to Steven Adams, the injury to Brandon Clark earlier in the year, the injury to John Morant during this series. And look, I was having this debate with a friend of the show, who I may or may not reveal. But I was having a debate on social media today, on Twitter, with a friend of ours who comes on the program, who was taking the stance that Dylan Brooks had gotten in the head of LeBron James, which was evident by the fact that LeBron approached him prior to Game 3 and basically called him out for his antics. And if you haven't seen it, the video's online with basically the subtitles of whatever the lip readers or the mics that were on the court were able to pick up. And LeBron called out Dylan Brooks, and Dylan Brooks didn't really say anything in response. So it was interesting to see that the approach from one guy whose insights I trust, and I think he says some really smart things, was basically to say, well, see, Dylan Brooks got in LeBron's head. And I'm like, no. Just because LeBron went and gave him a piece of his mind, I mean, you want to say that's getting in his head? Getting in his head would be if it impacted him in a negative way and the Lakers wound up losing Game 3 and we're on the verge of losing Game 4. It's been the exact opposite. And whereas I think the Lakers rally around LeBron in a spot like this, I think if you're a guy on the Grizzlies, you got to be asking Dylan Brooks, dude, what are you doing? Talk about one of the top 3 or 4 greatest players in the history of the NBA. The most prolific scorer in the league's history. All these championship rings. And you go and try to antagonize him? Like you're going to get in the head of this 20-year-old player and somehow you're going to be the one that disturbs what he does on the floor? Then you get thrown out of Game 3 for the shot to the groin. In a game where you're 3 of 13, you're a -6. I mean, you're essentially non-existent for 19 minutes before you get thrown out. And I add it all up, and it's just another factor. I don't think it's the reason why the Grizzlies are going to lose this series. But it's certainly a piece to the puzzle. I said it last week on the show. I'll say it again. Dylan Brooks is a poor man's Draymond Green with better hair. That's it. And there's no way that, the coaching staff and management, there's no way those guys are going to be happy with Dylan Brooks for tugging on Superman's cape. Tug on his cape and then you get put through a wall, basically. Can't be shocked. All right. Second hour of the show, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You want to text the show, go ahead and do it. 888-670-8549. Hopefully we fixed the audio issues we were having at the start of the show. 888-670-8549. Lakers on top of Memphis, 44-30, 6:22 to go in the second quarter. Memphis has 30 points. I keep saying this. Yeah, there's been some series where, this is run contrary to this. But you're seeing a lot more defense in the postseason than you saw during the regular season. And I told you that midway through the year when guys were putting up these ridiculous video game numbers. I said, when you get to the postseason, while you might still see more scoring, you're not going to see these numbers. And with the exception of, say, the Warriors and Kings, you're not seeing a lot. You're just not seeing a lot of it. I mean, go look at that Knicks Cavaliers series. That feels like a mid-90s Knicks Cavaliers series you would have seen. Put all that aside for a second. I want to talk about this whole situation with both the Jets and the Packers. And we talked about it last hour with Matt Verderam. Now both of these franchises know what the direction is going forward. If you're the Jets, it's Super Bowl or bust. And if you're Green Bay, for the first time, you're going to have to take some lumps. It's good, and that fan base in Green Bay, and I know we're on up there in Wisconsin. Hello to our friends listening up there. You've got to be patient now with this franchise. You've got to be patient with Jordan Love. Because you have to understand, in the big picture here, you weren't winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers anyway. And there are very few scenarios in sports where you could take a 39-year-old professional football player, sprinkle fairy dust on it, and turn it into a better first-round pick than you had, a second-round pick, a sixth-round pick, and a potential second-round pick next year. There isn't any world where as an NFL team, as a GM, you're going to be able to pull that sort of thing off. And the Packers managed to do it. Who knows how? Who knows if another mystery team was out there that helped them jack up the price? But you were able to get that for a 39-year-old grouchy quarterback that you weren't going to be able to win a Super Bowl with the talent around them anyway. So if I'm a fan of the Packers today, big picture, I'm happy. And I'll tell you another thing. I'm excited to see what Jordan Love can do. We've seen little glimpses. We've seen little moments here and there. There was a game against, I think, Philadelphia last year on Monday Night Football where he was running around the yard, tossing the football for touchdowns. I'm excited to see what Jordan Love can do. But no organization in the NFL, no organization has had the riches at the quarterback position back-to-back that the Packers have had. With Aaron Rodgers for an entire career, and then before him, Brett Favre for an entire career. I mean, you basically got 35 years of ridiculous play at quarterback and teams that were in contention most of the time. So now, maybe, who knows, maybe Jordan Love shocks the world. Maybe playing behind Aaron Rodgers, maybe he learned some things that made him better, even though he was sitting on the bench. I don't know what kind of a practice player he was. And that's the key here. What did he learn during that time? Not many guys get to sit around and play behind a great for that long. You know, how much of that was he able to put to use in practice as the backup quarterback of this team? Who knows? But we'll find out soon enough. And Packer fans, take a deep breath. Appreciate what you had over the last 35 years with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And get ready for the Jordan Love era. Now, as it relates to the Jets, you've been down this road before. Remember, you went and got Brett Favre from the same team. And we know how that went. It's supposed to be a different era of the Jets with Robert Saleh. And it feels like the talent around Aaron Rodgers is better than the talent that surrounded Brett Favre when he came to play for Gang Green. But keep this in mind. You're still in a really tough division in a really tough conference. Everything could go right for the Jets next year. Everything could go right for the Jets next year. And you could still wind up well short of the Super Bowl. Because even with Aaron Rodgers as your starting quarterback, where do you rank Not in all of the NFL. Where do you even rank in the conference? Something to think about. Are you better than Kansas City? Are you better than Buffalo? Are you better than Cincinnati? Baltimore with Lamar Jackson? San Diego? Jacksonville? Think about the teams that were in the postseason just last year. All right. You're certainly in the conversation with them. Who cares what I think, right? Just some dopey guy hosting a nationally syndicated sports radio show. What does Vegas think of the odds for the Jets? Who does Vegas put the Jets in front of as it relates to the 2023 AFC Championship or the 2023/2024 Super Bowl? Where does Vegas put the Jets? Where do they put the Packers? We'll look at the Rodgers deal to the Jets from the Vegas perspective. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Lakers are up 13 on the Memphis Grizzlies with 3:03 to play in the second quarter. A lot of upheaval in this NBA postseason. Stick around. We're coming back. More of the cash-in on this Monday at SportsMap Radio. So I'll take the Rodgers Favre stuff. Actually, you know what? I'll take you could put that whole segment in for the podcast. Yeah, it's amazing. Listen, you know it. You've been running the board for the show. How much have I said? Austin Reeves. No, but I'm saying, I've been saying it. Austin Reeves is going to be the reason this team winds up. He's the difference right now between this team being a team that maybe could beat Memphis to being a team that this team could go far. I mean, would you pick against this Laker team right now? Against anybody in the West? Denver? I mean, I'm still not sold on Denver. Beating Minnesota doesn't impress me. Oh, Dylan Brooks. Just stop shooting the basketball. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, what a move by Ja. Jesus. He wanted the foul, too. Say a lot of complaining to refs. Yeesh. Oh, nice pass. Oh, great pass. Oh, did you? Did he answer? Oh, wow. It's an odd interview. I'd like to do an interview with him. I'd like to talk to him. Yeah. How many segments did they do with him? One segment for somebody like that is too short. You can talk forever with somebody like that. Hey, Tim. It's great. Ooh, Memphis within 7. All right, Memphis is up 7, 54. Lakers up 7 now, 54-47, after being up as many as 13, 15 in the first half. I was just talking about it with producer engineer Justin Barbosa, who's working on the show. And Justin, you'll remember, I've been saying since well before the playoffs started, if the Lakers are going to make a deep run, it was going to be Austin Reeves. Was the reason why. Listen, with very few exceptions here so far in this postseason, now Anthony Davis has played well. You know what you're getting from LeBron. Rui Hachimura's been nice. But Austin Reeves, man, that dude has really grown from where he was at the start of the year to where we are now. He's a real factor, and he's playing with supreme confidence. That really makes again, who would you put as a prohibitive favorite over? Let's assume the Lakers get through this series, which I said they would before the postseason started, and I hold fast to it. Who would you put? Is there anybody you would put as a prohibitive favorite against the Lakers right now? The answer is no. There isn't anybody I'd put as a prohibitive favorite over the Lakers. Denver? You're going to give me Denver? Sorry, not there with Denver yet. Got to see them do it. It was the same thing with the Grizzlies. Everybody went nuts about the Grizzlies last year. And look, I think they would have beaten the Warriors if Ja Morant didn't get hurt. But, forget all of that. No Steven Adams. No Brandon Clark. Morant getting banged up during the series. Look, if I'll say this, Memphis is fully healthy, I think they might beat the Lakers. I'd sure as hell would have given them a better chance than we've seen, in this series. By the way, Memphis has cut it all the way down to 2 to end the first half. Hell of a run by the Grizz late in the first half. 54-52 Lakers at the break. And, you're essentially talking about 2 quarters here. If the Lakers could just win the last 2 quarters of this game, they're going to be up 3-1. And you'd have to pretty much call it a wrap at that point. But we'll see if the Lakers can figure it out in the second half and get a win here at home tonight. Against the Grizzlies, or if the Grizzlies get this thing knotted up at 2 games apiece going back to Memphis. So I said I wanted to get into the odds on the NFL as it relates to the championship, championship odds for the NFL. So NFL futures. First, we'll go on the Super Bowl for both the Packers and the Jets. The Jets are now plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. Now, putting that in perspective, the Chiefs are plus 600. Philadelphia is plus 900. Buffalo is plus 900. The 49ers are plus 900. Cincinnati is plus 1,000. Dallas is plus 1,400. So even adding Aaron Rodgers, even by adding Aaron Rodgers, the Jets are now the 1, 2, 3, 4th best odds for an AFC team to win the Super Bowl. And I'm talking 4th after Kansas City. So if you're talking AFC teams, they're 5th. And listen, I think it's comical that they're the same odds as the Dallas Cowboys. Because given what we've seen out of Dallas, it's kind of hard for me to be sold on. And I say this with all due respect to our friends listening in the Big D. But I think you know it in your heart of hearts. And you've got to be cynical as much as I am. And I'm not even a Cowboy fan. But the idea that, the Cowboys have the 4th or 5th best odds to win a Super Bowl when they can barely get through one playoff game and one playoff win right now. It's kind of amazing. And the Jets have added a future Hall of Fame quarterback And we know about the talent that surrounds him. So I'm not, it's a little easier to talk me into the idea that the Jets could win a Super Bowl next year. I don't think either of them are winning a Super Bowl next year. I still think Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, San Francisco, and Cincinnati are the class of this league. Everybody else is distant behind them. I'll tell you who I like. Out of that lot that I just gave you, KC, Philadelphia, Buffalo, San Francisco, and Cincy, I love Cincy at plus 1,000. I mean, you're talking about a team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. This past year was one bad penalty, and I don't mean bad call, but one bad play away from being a Super Bowl team. I mean, what's not to love about Cincinnati? Knocking on the door. Buffalo? San Francisco? You don't know who the quarterback is for one of them. And Buffalo, I think by a lot of accounts, was actually disappointing last year in terms of how the season ended for them. But Cincinnati at plus 1,000, that might be the value right now if you're asking me about futures betting in the NFL. I mean, there's a whole bunch of teams getting much longer odds. The Ravens at plus 2,000, Detroit at 2,200. I'll tell you, even the Ravens at plus 2,000 would be interesting if Lamar Jackson is healthy for a whole season with OBJ in the mix, with Mark Andrews alongside him. Jacksonville's plus 2,500, meh. Chargers are plus 2,500, meh. The Dolphins, 2,500, meh. Can I tell you another one that's kind of comical to me? Talk about sprinkling fairy dust on something and hoping to get something out of it. Denver is plus 3,500. Now, while that sounds like really long odds, I mean, that's kind of middle of the pack. In fact, it might even be better than middle of the pack. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They're actually in the top half of the league for odds to win the Super Bowl next year. They're top half. Given everything we saw in Denver last year, how prolifically bad that offense was for much of the year. You got Denver in the top half of the odds. I mean, that's just nuts to me. That's just nuts. Not buying it. All right, conference championship odds. The Jets are the fourth best odds to come out of the AFC. Kansas City is 1, Buffalo is 2. So you got Kansas City at plus 350, Buffalo at plus 450, Cincinnati at plus 490, and the Jets at plus 850. Then the Ravens at plus 1,100, and the Chargers at plus 1,200. Now, the Packers, we talked about the Jets. The Packers next year to come out of the NFC are plus 1,800. They're actually in the top half of the conference. San Francisco, Philadelphia, Dallas, Detroit, New Orleans, Minnesota, the Giants, and the Packers. And in the case of the Giants and Packers, they're basically tied. So Vegas is telling you they think the Packers could still be a playoff team next year. That's essentially what you're getting. If you look at the odds right now, based on the odds, Vegas would tell you the Packers are still going to be a playoff team. Maybe a wild card team, but a playoff team. And I think if you're a Packers fan, you'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. As it relates to the Super Bowl odds, the Packers are actually below the Broncos. Still top half, right in the middle of the pack. But the Broncos are plus 3,500 with the Saints, and then the Packers are plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl. You want to burn that kind of money, knock yourself out. You can just give it to me, and I'll donate it to a local animal shelter, or you can go do that yourself. Oh, I got to tell you guys a story today. I almost wound up divorced today. I almost wound up a divorcee today. Yep. I almost did a major no-no. Almost did and I don't know if my husband realizes just how close it was to happening. What almost took place today. But you're all going to find out coming up in a couple of minutes. I almost did something you do not do as a married man. Heterosexual, straight, gay, whatever. There's just certain things you do not do. And I almost did it today. I bet your mind is wandering right now. Bet you're thinking worst case scenario, aren't you? I'm going to tell you what it is coming up in a couple of minutes. They're at the half with the Lakers and the Grizzlies. Come on back. More to do on this Monday edition of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. I still can't believe Butler scored 56 on 28 shots. Really? In this era of the NBA? It's nuts. How's calling me? Wow, A's threatening to win a game of 7-5, man. Fifth. Tell you lose to the A's this year. That's a tough one to swallow. Nefarious. Oh my God, yeah. It's funny, my husband's been saying the same thing you are. The guy from the George Foreman grill is got his own movie. I'm like, do you realize he was a great... my husband doesn't know a lot about sports, so he doesn't know that he was a prolific boxer twice. He had two separate boxing careers. My husband just knows him for the Foreman grill. Is that Belmer? It is Belmer. It's Belmer rocking the mic. You guys text me at 888-670-8549. Save that number. That is a special cash-in exclusive text line. That is only for this show. Gave it to you, the people. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. That's the text line. Sam in the UP, which I think is Upper Peninsula, if I'm not mistaken. Sam texting the show says, Jordan Love 50-1 MVP odds. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. 50-1 MVP odds. Jordan Love. I didn't even look. To see what the MVP odds. Now you got me curious when you bring that up. Let's see. MVP next year. Wow, Aaron Rodgers is plus 1,600. I'll tell you what. I'll give you that one. I would do Aaron Rodgers at plus 1,600 as a flyer. Again, forget what I think of Aaron Rodgers, the antics, all the crap that this dude pulls. Forget that. Aaron Rodgers at plus 1,600, I say this all the time. Give me a motivated veteran, who's once experienced greatness, and in the case of a guy like Rodgers, has experienced greatness many times over. Give me that guy every day of the week after a trade. For 1 year, sign me up for Aaron Rodgers at plus 1,600. Yeah, and there is there's Trey Lance at plus 5,000, also known as 50-1. Josh Allen is your favorite to win the regular season MVP? Really? I'm not buying that. Well, I shouldn't say he's the favorite. He's tied with Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. They're all plus 700. That makes a little more sense. Justin Herbert is plus 900. Jalen Hurts is plus 1,200. Lamar Jackson is plus 1,500. Rodgers plus 1,600. Trevor Lawrence is plus 1,600. And then Dak Prescott at plus 1,600. I do think it's mildly insulting to Aaron Rodgers that he's got the same MVP odds as Dak Prescott. And again, that's not taking shots at Dak Prescott. It's just acknowledging that even at this stage of his career, a healthy, motivated Aaron Rodgers is better than Dak Prescott. Sorry. You want to tell me I'm wrong? From anywhere in America, knock yourself out. 800-224-2004 is the phone number. 800-224-2004. And you could text us 888-670-8549. I'd even, you know what? Here's a text line question. I'll throw this out for the remainder of the hour. On the text line, who are you taking for 1 year next year? Aaron Rodgers with the Jets or Dak Prescott with the Cowboys? And be honest, if you're a Cowboy fan and nobody's going to hurt you, name where you're listening to us and Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott. Which one are you taking for next year only to have a better season? Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott? 888-670-8549. That's the text line. 800-224-2004 is the call-in number. All right, so I almost wound up a divorcee today, Justin Barbosa, producer, engineer. Well done. How did I almost wind up divorced, you may ask? And your mind's probably going to the worst possible places. You're probably thinking, what did Paige do? Was he on like TMZ? Was he caught cavorting with somebody he shouldn't have been? What could he have possibly done to almost wind up a divorcee? The answer? Well, the story starts this morning when I go to take a 50-inch television to the e-recycle center, the e-waste place, right? Got to go and recycle it. There's no way to throw it out. TV's broke. Go and throw it out. The problem is the e-recycle place is right next to the Palm Springs animal shelter. Anybody knows anything about me knows I am a huge dog lover. If you follow me on social media, you'll see a lot of stuff with my dog on it. My dog's even got his own Twitter and Instagram. He's a very cool social media savvy dog. He's able to do some things that most dogs can't do. So he's a rock star, my dog. Problem is, I've wanted another dog for quite some time now. My husband and I have been talking at length about the possibility of getting another dog. We even went to the shelter ourselves a few months back and went and looked at the dogs. And we've been vacillating on it, and you should never vacillate on something like getting a dog. You got to be 100% committed. Best advice I can give anybody who's, thinking about getting a dog, because there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. Not that I have to give you parenting classes or adulting classes. I'm the last person that should ever be doing that. But today, I decided to go by myself. There's two places you don't go by yourself if you're married. One is the bar, where there's other singles mingling. And the other is an animal shelter, because there's a really good chance you could come walking out with a dog that you were not intending to get and would cause a lot of strife in your marriage. I almost walked out with a dog today. I was this close to walking out with a pit bull mix that was about 7 months old, was already like 60 pounds, and was the most adorable, beautiful dog you've ever seen. Had these piercing eyes that just cut a hole right into your soul. And even worse, after I finally convinced myself not to do it, I'm walking out the door of the shelter, and the lady says, "Did you see any dogs you want to take home?" At which point I almost cried, because I'm a sap. I'll admit it. But she goes, "By the way, any of the bigger dogs, anything over 60 pounds, the adoption fee is only $25. I could have walked out with this gorgeous dog for $25. But I texted the husband, and he said no. Forbid me from doing it. I still almost went back in and said, "Give me the damn dog. I'll fill out the application. I'll do whatever you need. I want this dog." Would have been no show tonight because I would have been divorced. I would have been sleeping on the couch. Of course you would have done. You're not married. And you live with your parents. So if anything happens, your parents can take care of the dog. You would have still done it. You have a girlfriend, you said, right? 5 years. 5 years. Yeah, I loved this dog. I'll put a picture of him up on Twitter. It's a cute dog. You guys are texting the show, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549. I asked the question tonight, who are you taking for next year? Just for next year, Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott? Because both have the same odds to win the MVP for next year. This one is from, let's see here. I think this is Jerry in Texas. He says, Rodgers, no doubt. David in Austin, Texas, also texting into the show, says he'd take Dak Prescott. Really, David? Take Dak Prescott over Aaron Rodgers? I mean, look, I ask the question because I know there will be some people on both sides of the conversation. I fully expect that. But, yeah, I just don't see it. Not coming off the year Dak had last year. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a down year last year. He still threw less interceptions than Dak Prescott, and he played more games. 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for Aaron Rodgers last year. In a down year, he went 26-12. In a down year, he was 7th in the league in touchdowns. In a down year. Lakers lead the Grizzlies 66-64. 8:08 to play in the third quarter. We will continue to keep you updated on that. Let me see. Can we give you a live betting winner tonight? Let's see. See if we can find a good live betting winner for y'all tonight. Lakers are up 66-64. They are minus. Oh, God, give me that in a heartbeat. Lakers are minus 3.5 with the score tied at 66. Let's lock it in, Justin Barbosa at Master Control. We're going to take the Lakers minus 3.5 right now. Get it in. Lock it in is right. Lakers minus 3.5 is our live betting winner. Doesn't look very good right now, though. Grizzlies making a run in this game. We'll come back, tell you about it next. I was so close to walking out with this dog, dude. So beautiful. Huh? It was a pit bull mix. Yeah. The dog I almost took home from the Palm Springs Animal Shelter today. Wait, go look at my Twitter. I just posted a picture of this dog. Isn't that a gorgeous dog? I know. See? Justin said he would have taken him home.
Yeah, okay, you can. Go for it. Go for it. Feed him, bring him to the vet, everything the doggy needs. Go for it.
Well, they take care of all that. They do. Huh?
That's the first one.
Yeah, but only has to go once a year. It's just a young dog. Come on, man. If you saw this dog, you'd feel different. I think we should go. I think we should go see this dog.
I'm a cold-hearted snake.
Yankees lose 6-1. Damn, Baltimore's 15-7. So much for that A's win. 7-7 now in the seventh. Yeah. Rays. Wow, the Rays are 20-3. Jesus. No, and I'll tell you the thing, too. Fans are actually starting to show up for games. Well, maybe not tonight. 10,611 tonight. But over the weekend, they actually had like 22,000 for a game. For them? Hell yeah. Pretty much. They definitely don't have the upper deck, yeah. By the way, don't look now. The Yankees are 4th in the AL East right now. I know it's 25 games into a very long season. Who cares, right? It's way too early to worry about this stuff. Except when you look and Tampa Bay's 20-3 and the Yankees are 13-10. You're 7 games out before you even get to the end of April. I mean, that's crazy. Tampa Bay won again tonight. Team just, it's amazing what they're doing right now. Beat the Astros tonight. 8-3 Rays over the Astros. Wander Franco had an enormous day. Let's see, I'll give you a little taste of Wander Franco. Let's see if I can find it. Give you a little taste of Wander Franco's big day. That guy's healthy, man. You're talking about a true, game-changing star, and there's just no getting around it. So what's Franco do? Let's see what he wind up with tonight. Wander Franco tonight was 4 for 5. He's hitting .318. 4 for 5, 2 doubles. It's a big night. 20-3, and the Rays still have not lost at home. And for all that, they had 10,000 at the Trop tonight to play against the world champions. See, here's the problem. Yankees come to town, they'll have 20+ thousand in the house. Red Sox come to town, they'll draw. World champion Astros come to town. I'm sorry. People are not showing up in big numbers to go see the world champion Houston Astros. That's part of the problem with a team that's sort of a middle market team. Despite, and again, I say this as a baseball fan, I'd go see the Astros if they were coming to my favorite team's town. They're a great baseball team, but they're just not a team that captivates the imaginations of the home fans to come out on a Monday night, which is typically a slow night around Major League Baseball. Let's see. This one from Richard in Austin. Big Cowboys fan, he says. Aaron Rodgers, hands down. We're asking the question this hour. Weigh in on the text line. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549 from anywhere in America. If I give you just for next year one quarterback, Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott. And again, considering, who's on their team with them. I'm not taking all of this in a vacuum or anything like that. Who are you taking next year to have the better year? Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott? And don't give me Aaron Rodgers. Don't give me Dak Prescott because I'm going to call you bogus. We've already had a couple people, though, say they think Dak Prescott. I'm just not buying it. I think for next year, you take Aaron Rodgers. Again, they're both plus 1,600 to win the MVP next year. Appreciate you guys texting in. 888-670-8549. Let me know what you think. Memphis and the Lakers. It is Memphis 71, the Lakers 69. And I'll tell you right now, if this game is close in the fourth, the Lakers are going to find a way to win. They can't buy a bucket right now, though. This has been an abysmal third quarter for them. And now you got Memphis up 4 with 5:10 to go in the third. We told you to take the Lakers minus 3.5. We still feel good about that pick. As a matter of fact, the Lakers are plus 1.5 right now. Let's lock in a second pick. Justin Barbosa, producer engineer. Give me the Lakers plus 1.5. Give me the Lakers plus 1.5 on a second live bet. So now we got the Lakers minus 3.5 and the Lakers plus 1.5. Ja Morant, big steal, and looks like that was a take foul Yep, take foul against the Lakers. So Memphis is going to get free throws and the basketball. Up 73-69, Memphis, with 4:47 to go in the third quarter. LeBron on the bench for the Lakers right now getting some rest. I don't know if they're reviewing it. It looks like they're going to review it to see if it is a take foul or not. But we'll keep you posted on that. I have not mentioned NHL playoff hockey tonight, and that is a bad job by me. Toronto Maple Leafs in overtime tonight beat Tampa Bay 5-4. They have a 3-1 series lead. And I'll tell you, all the credit in the world to the New Jersey Devils. They got outscored 10-2 in the first two games at home in their playoff series against the Rangers. Devils have won the next two games tonight, 3-1, to tie that series at 2 games apiece, going back to Jersey. That is impressive. The Seattle Kraken lead Colorado 2-1. Late second period in Seattle. Colorado leads that series 2-1. So Seattle looking to even things up in that series. Interesting side note to that Seattle-Colorado series. Their AHL affiliates will be playing in the second round of the AHL's Calder Cup playoffs, which gets started later on this week. Seattle and Colorado's AHL teams will be playing against each other. So that's kind of cool. Coachella Valley Firebirds, and I don't remember what the Avalanche's AHL affiliate is, but pretty cool that you got them playing in the AHL playoffs and the NHL postseason. All right, Memphis up 74-69, so it was deemed a clear path foul. So it'll be Grizzlies basketball after a couple of free throws. Lakers right now plus 2.5 on the live spread, plus 114 on the money line as well. Elsewhere, NHL playoffs tonight. Vegas and Winnipeg, 3-2 Vegas on top. Early third period over on Espen. Vegas leads the series 2-1. I think Winnipeg won game 1 of that series, and I think Vegas has now won the next 2 games. Boy, there's a lot of whining to officials in this game tonight. That stuff gets old real fast, and I think you tend to get less calls when you do that kind of whining to officials that we've seen in this game tonight. Lakers offense looks terribly disjointed right now. They cannot get anything going. Memphis leads 74-69, so they only got 1 point out of the take foul situation. The 1 free throw out of 2, and then nothing on the subsequent possession. So Lakers dodge a bullet there. Down 5 late in the third. 74-69. Rui Hachimura is going to be going to the free throw line for a couple of free throws. Try and get the Lakers within 3. This is going to be a close game down the stretch. I still like the Lakers. We told you to take them minus 3.5. Told you to take them plus 1.5. We'll keep an eye on it as we go. Our question this hour on the text line, 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. Who are you taking for just next season? Who are you taking for just next season, given the teams they're playing on? Dak Prescott or Aaron Rodgers? For 1 year, which quarterback are you taking? I say Aaron Rodgers. Want to know what you think? 888-670-8549 if you want to hit us up on the text line. All right, Lakers down 3. We'll keep tabs on that. 4 minutes to play in the third in Los Angeles. Again, LeBron getting some rest right now on the bench, hoping to have him fresh for the fourth quarter of that game. Game the Grizzlies have to have if they have any chance of winning this series. Down 2-1. tell you what we got coming up tomorrow for the postseason matchups. And I'll tell you, the New York Knicks on the verge of advancing to the Eastern Conference semifinals with some really inspiring effort over the last 2 games in New York. They'll be back in Cleveland on Wednesday. Couple of series, 3 series, in fact, tomorrow could be closeouts. Tell you about that and more next hour of the Cash In right around the corner on SportsMap Radio.
James back on the floor with 3:09 to go. And now Taylor Jenkins wants to have a chat. Timeout Memphis. One more free throw coming for Reeves. This isn't a fairy tale vacation. This isn't and the exact opposite. It's everywhere you've ever wanted to go. Everything you've ever wanted to try, and everyone you've ever wanted to meet. It's real bravery, real adventure, real excitement for all. Universal Orlando Resort. It's more than magic. It's real.
Has this happened to you? AT&T and Verizon rope you in with phone offers, then bind you to a 3-year device contract. Break free with T-Mobile. Introducing Go 5G Plus. The first plan always gives new and existing customers the same great device deals, and you're upgrade ready a year earlier. Right now, bring your phone to T-Mobile and get one of the latest 5G smartphones free. Hello? Yes, I'm free. And so are you. No, I'm not tied up at all. Surely this is too many road jokes.
Break free with Go 5G Plus and T-Mobile. Wingstop has 12 flavors of chicken sandwich. In my day, we had 1 flavor, chicken. Now they have garlic parmesan.
No.
Mango hot
Just what I told you.
lemon pepper.
The Rogers,
At Wingstop.
right? The stuff from the first segment?
You can find us in big cities and small towns across the U.S.
Yeah.
Our focus is to always support the people who live and work there, because you call these communities home, as we do too. PNC Bank.
You've earned this, so hold it up high. You're fans of the grind, of leading, and flagging. Because you know saving time is never as important as cherishing it. You are fighters, and this is your reward. Modelo, the mark of a fighter.
Hey, check this out. You can pre-qualify with CarMax fast and easy. Did you just block me?
I was protecting your credit score.
Pre-qualifying with CarMax has no impact to your credit score.
Sorry, force a habit.
Here's the new pillow everyone is talking about. The Pancake Pillow. The adjustable pillow that custom fits to your perfect pillow height. With 6 soft stacking inner pillow layers, it perfectly fits everyone. Order yours at pancakepillow.com.
It's growing season, and nobody knows more about growing than the folks at Tractor Supply. Whether you want to grow a bigger garden, add to your flock, or upgrade your power equipment, we're here with supplies to last many seasons. Since 1938, Tractor Supply has helped folks with the supplies, savings, and advice to do more of what they love for themselves. Tractor Supply, for life out here. With live plants arriving weekly, we can help you start planting now and saving every day.
Great urgency on defense. Great activity. Hey, my whole message has been keep getting better. Keep getting better one possession at a time. Our physicality and activity has been great on defense. Keep it up, right?
Well, when Memphis was struggling to put the ball in the basket,
Oh, it's Stan Van Gundy. Monday/Tuesday edition of the show. The new set getting into place for those of you watching on the video side. Trying to give you a better video experience, and kind of happy with the way it's come out so far. We're not totally done with it yet, but some of the bigger pieces starting to come into place. So if you're watching us on Twitter at The Back Page, on Twitch, Jason Page 77, on YouTube, the Decibel 88 page. Appreciate you guys checking out the show tonight. Here on SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app as well. Lots of different ways you can ingest the program. We appreciate you taking the time to do any of them. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 is the telephone number. The text line number, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549. Showing LeBron's kids up in the stands at Crypto.com Arena. Memphis on top of the Lakers, 76-74, 2:30 to go in the third quarter. We have the Lakers minus 3.5. We have the Lakers plus 1.5. Like them both. Wow, Dylan Brooks is hitting threes. We might be in for a long night. Memphis up 5 with 2:16 to go. And Dennis Schroeder's going to be going on the line to shoot a couple of free throws. By the way, I didn't mention this before when we were talking about the Jets' odds to win the Super Bowl. They were plus 2,500 after the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They were plus 2,500. Now they're plus, what do we say, 1,400, 1,500? They're now that to win the Super Bowl next season. So it goes to tell you the power of Aaron Rodgers. And who knows, that number may go down if if a lot of money goes on the Jets. In New York, it certainly could. Where sports betting is legal, you might see a lot of numbers start to go a lot of bets start to go in the Jets' favor as far as NBA futures are concerned. All right, 3 chances for closeout games around the NBA tomorrow. You've got 3 series all at 3-1, with the possibility that none of them get beyond a Game 5. So tomorrow night, you've got Game 5 between the Hawks and Celtics back in Boston. And Dejounte Murray will not be a part of that Hawks team as he was suspended for making contact with an official in the closing seconds of that Hawks loss against the Boston Celtics. So Hawks will try to avoid elimination tomorrow night. Celtics will try for the closeout game. T-Wolves and Nuggets. Be surprised if Denver didn't close that thing out tomorrow in the Mile High City. And then Clippers will try to do the same with the Suns. No Kawhi Leonard again for the Clippers as the Suns look for the closeout game. And boy, oh boy, what could have been. I mean, if you are a Clippers fan, that's all you probably can think about is what could have been yet again if Kawhi Leonard was able to stay healthy for an entire postseason series. Not even an entire postseason. Just an entire postseason series. Couldn't do it. Clippers could get closed out tomorrow. And, you've got Tyronn Lue basically going to bat for Kawhi Leonard. Clippers ruled out both of their franchise stars on Monday, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And Ty Lue is trying to go to bat for his guy, said Leonard received treatment, did not make practice on Monday, made it clear for anyone criticizing Kawhi Leonard for load management or perhaps doubting this current injury. He's definitely hurt, Lue said of Leonard. Like, this is not load management where he's taking time off. He's shown in his past that he's played through injuries in the playoffs. If it's something that he can't play through, then it has to be pretty serious. We're not talking about he's sitting out because of load management or he's tired or nothing like that. It's an actual thing. What the outside is saying, who cares? You're right. It doesn't matter what the outside is saying. But what's the inside saying? What are the other guys on that roster saying? When you're talking about now another season for the Clippers that is lost due to injury. I mean, what are you saying inside that Clippers locker room if you're Clippers management? That's the question to me, not what the outside is saying. What's the inside saying? It has to be very disconcerting for the guys in that locker room to be looking at yet another season of not being able to advance because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George can't stay healthy. I mean, look, were they going to win this series with Kawhi Leonard and without Paul George? Probably not. Even as good as Kawhi Leonard was playing, it was going to be very difficult with no Paul George for this team to win 4 out of 7 times against this Phoenix team. But you would have given them more than a puncher's chance. Instead, now you give them no chance. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night in that series. All right, a few things I want to get to in this hour before we're joined in the 2-for-1 by Matt Verderam, who does a great job with SI.com, their fantastic NFL insider. Before he goes to the draft, have him on for a couple of segments. The first one is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Prime time, wearing his cowboy hat for a spring game that didn't look like a spring game. 45,000 fans bought $10 tickets to go to a game in Boulder, Colorado, between Colorado and Colorado. Yep, spring football at its finest. And what can Deion Sanders do for you? After a 1-11 season, he could help you put 45,000 fans inside your stadium. Can he do much more than that? I'm not convinced yet. I'll believe it when I see it. But what do I mean when I say play stupid games, win stupid prizes? The very same thing that gets you 45,000 fans to buy $10 tickets to go to a college football game that nobody outside of Colorado cares about, with Colorado playing against Colorado, the very same thing that makes that happen is the very same thing that causes you to lose 18 guys in the transfer portal if you're Colorado football. Montana Lamonius Craig being the big name. He caught 23 passes for 359 yards and 3 touchdowns. Last season, did Lamonius Craig. Well, on Saturday, Lamonius Craig caught a 98-yard touchdown pass from Deion Sanders' son of all people, Shedeur Sanders. And he finished with 3 catches for 154 yards. And guess what? He's going into the transfer portal. Lamonius Craig wrote in his social media post announcing his decision, "I hope this letter finds you in good health and spirits." A couple of hours later, another wide receiver on the team, Chase Sowell, took to social media to announce he was also leaving. And just like that, Deion Sanders watched 18 guys leave. Now, keep in mind, this is the same Deion Sanders that when he took over as head coach at Colorado, basically came out and said, I'm going to reshape this roster, basically putting everybody who's on the roster on notice that you better go find somewhere else to play for this 1-11 team. So Dion brought this upon Dion. And granted, some of the guys on that roster at 1-11 probably weren't going to be a piece of this puzzle anyway, part of the solution. But at the same time, Dion didn't have to be so public about it. This isn't the NFL. This isn't the National Football League. These are still, even with NIL, you're still talking about teenagers, some barely out of their teenage years, that you put on notice that they should go play football somewhere else. This isn't the NFL. Dion's got to learn that fast. He would have been best suited to keep it in-house, but that's not the way Dion operates. And again, a lot of the guys that left may not necessarily be guys that Dion wanted to keep anyway. Still, you have to question whether his style and his approach is something that is going to resonate and work with these kids. We're coming back on the Cash In. Stay with us. Wow. Game's getting physical. Nice block. Yeah, you can go do that. That'll probably be it. Quarter past the hour, coming up in 15 minutes, Matt Verderam on the NFL. The Aaron Rodgers deal to the New York Jets obviously will be a big part of what we talk about, but also get into the draft some as well. One of the most unpredictable drafts, really. I mean, I can't remember ever having a draft quite as unpredictable as the one we're going to see on Thursday night. By the way, programming note, I will be off on Thursday and Friday this week. I'm planning to take some time off in May as well, but Thursday and Friday, no show. As we hand off the draft coverage to our friends at VSiN and let them run with that. And we'll be back on Monday to analyze everything that we have seen. But you look at some of the quotes, from, just to go back to Deion for a second before I get into something else I want to hit on before we get into the 2-for-1. And you look at some of the quotes that Deion was putting out there. Got to make some decisions, get ready to go ahead and jump. We're going to move on. You see some of the things that Deion said. Y'all know we're going to move on from some of the team members and we're going to reload. We've got to get some kids we really identify with. So this process is going to be quick. It's going to be fast, but we going to get it done, he said. Jordan Tyson, who had 22 catches for 470 yards last year for a season-ending injury in November. He announced his departure. This was not an easy decision, but one I have thought long and hard about, he said on Twitter Monday. Running back Deion Smith was Colorado's leading rusher last year. He also said on Monday he was entering the portal. Last year, 83 carries for 393 yards. So you take three of the best offensive weapons off this team. Deion better sure have some great transfers coming in, or next year is going to be a really long year. And here's the bigger question about Deion. Next time we have Nick Ferguson on, I want to ask his thoughts on this because he's in Denver, which obviously isn't too far from Boulder. And that whole state revolves around Colorado football. But here's the question. How many years does Deion get to turn it around? Is he getting 4 years? Getting 5 years? What is Deion Sanders? How much time do you give Deion Sanders if you're the powers that be at Colorado? I'll be anxious to see what the answer to that is. Now, if you have what's a successful year next year for them? They were 1-11 this year. Is 4 wins a good year next year? Is it just being competitive in every game? You win 4 games, but you're competitive, as opposed to what that school has been. What do you consider a successful season if you're Colorado? Smith said on Twitter, "I'll be entering the portal as a graduate transfer. God makes no mistakes." Okay, then. The team we're playing with now is the team that we're going to play with in Texas the first game, Sanders said on April 8th. No, it's not. There's going to be a few less guys on that roster. It's going to be pretty slim pickings. Colorado opens the season on September 2nd against TCU. Good luck with that. All right, we got an official review underway because of a offensive foul on an illegal screen. 89-86. Memphis on top of the Lakers. And this might have been another one of those plays where there was a shot to the nether regions from a Grizzlies player. I don't think it was intentional. I just think it was a hard screen, and Dennis Schroeder got tangled up with the offending player from the Grizzlies. But you get guys getting hit in the nether regions these days, and they could get thrown out. So we'll see what the official word is Is it going to be a flagrant 1? Is it going to be a flagrant 2? Is it an ejection? What's it going to be here? Sounds like they're going to call it a common foul. Let's see what the official word is, because Grizzlies could ill afford to lose another player to a foul. So, nope, they're not going to call it a flagrant 2. They're going to call it a common foul. It will be Laker ball with 7:57 to go. In the fourth quarter, Memphis on top of the Lakers, 89-86. Last one. Last week, on Thursday or Friday, you might have heard me talk about the story of Ime Udoka, and it looked like with Nick Nurse out in Toronto, he was going to become the head coach of the Raptors. Well, not so fast, Lee Harvey. Rockets have agreed to hire Ime Udoka as the franchise's next head coach. Adrian Wojnarowski had the story over at ESPN. I got to be honest, if I'm Ime Udoka, and I know, look, he's going to get a chance potentially to coach the best player on the best incoming player on the planet in Victor Wembanyama. And if not Wembanyama, he's going to get, the second best incoming player potentially in Scoot Henderson. But if I'm Ime Udoka and it was a choice between Houston and Toronto, and he chose to go to Houston, that would be a suspect decision to me. Because that team needs a complete reshaping. And, I say this all the time. You don't want to be the first or second coach in a situation as bad as Houston. You probably want to be the third coach, because by the time you get to the third coach, the roster is either starting to mature, you're starting to pick up a couple of free agents, it's finally turning into it. I don't know if Ime Udoka is going to be able to be around long enough for this franchise to be good by the time he gets canned. I mean, remember, this is a guy that was I hate to say this, but you're talking about the proverbial one-hit wonder. I mean, 1 year as a head coach in the league, goes to the NBA Finals against Golden State. It's all downhill from there for a head coach. Hey, listen, if you're the Rockets, this is a great hire for you. But I don't know if it's a great situation for Ime Udoka. Udoka decided against the Raptors job. And again, here's the other thing you got to remember if you're Ime Udoka. There's only one Victor Wembanyama. If the Rockets don't get him and they miss on Scoot Henderson, boy, you are taking over a dumpster fire. In a tough Western Conference, good luck. Shopping for what? Who wants to go play there? Shopping? Come on. Yeah, I'll believe all of that when I see it. And here's the reason I say this, Justin. As a Knicks fan, the Knicks couldn't get great players to come play in the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, forever, up until Jalen Brunson. The Knicks couldn't get anybody. Remember, they traded for Julius Randle. They drafted R.J. Barrett. They could not get a big-name free agent to come to New York. That's New York. You're telling me these guys are all just running to Houston to go play for a team that's been a dumpster fire for the last few years? I'm not buying it. Again, because by the time that team's good, you're Jaylen Brown. I mean, James Harden doesn't have that many great years left. So now you're talking about a situation where you're going to play your last couple of years in Houston. It all sounds great. Go back to, where he had so much success. It all sounds great. No state income tax. But I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. And I know the Jaylen Brown trade stuff has been talked about. He's very uncertain of where his future is with that franchise. I would be shocked, with a capital S, if we had a situation where just suddenly this roster gets made over and, This is a 30-win team or a 35-win team next year. Talking about a long uphill slog if you're Udoka. And again, Wembanyama can change the calculus on a lot of this stuff. Free agent might be really excited to come play with Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. You getting excited about anybody after him if they have the third pick? Not so sure. All right, we'll do some NFL, the Aaron Rodgers trade, the draft, a whole bunch more with Matt Verderam, SI.com's senior NFL insider, joins us next. SportsMap Radio. Oh, Jesus. They called an offensive foul on that. That is just the worst. Come on. That's an offensive foul? Oh, God, it's so bad. It's so bad. Shoot, I just realized something. You don't have that interview ready, do you? I just realized I may have a big issue. I just realized. Shoot. Let me see something. I may not be able to play. And they ultimately did. Spending some time with Matt Verderam joins us here on the Cash In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. All right, just for a moment here. What do the Packers look like? Where do they go in the draft now? When you consider who their quarterback is, they've now put their eggs in the Jordan Love basket. Try and analyze what happens next year for Green Bay.
So I think for the Packers, if you're Jim Brian Gutekunst, I think now it's about trying to build around Jordan Love. Get him another weapon. Maybe you look on the defensive side of the ball and say, okay, where can we fill in? I mean, do you get another edge rusher to play opposite Rashawn Gary? Preston Smith is there. How long is he there? I think their secondary, the corners are solid. Do you maybe, I would normally say you look for a safety in this draft. This draft is awful at safety, so I don't think you're going deep at safety. I think you're trying to build up the offense. Maybe you look for a tight end. I mean, Robert Tonyan is no longer there. Maybe you go after his replacement early. There's a lot of options in this draft. It's very deep at tight end. Maybe you look at, hey, do we try to go out and add on the offensive line, get better up front? David Bakhtiari at this point could very well be his last year in green and gold. So I think that makes the most sense. Insulate Love, build around him, get better on that side of the ball, give him the best chance to succeed, because that also then helps you to understand next year, or I should say at the end of this year, okay, look, either Love's our guy, that's great, we feel good about that, we've got extra picks to build around him with, or, you know what, he's not the guy, and we know that because we surrounded him with decent talent, and it didn't work out, but now we've got these extra picks, and we can go out and try to get somebody to replace him, and we got a good team around that young quarterback.
Spending some time with Matt Verderam, SI.com, joins us here on the show, getting some thoughts with him surrounding this Green Bay Packers team, now the move they have made with the Jets, obviously with Aaron Rodgers getting sent packing. And, Gutekunst says they're not rebuilding, so be very interesting to see. It's funny. Here's the funny thing. You talk about a team like the 49ers, and we don't even know who the hell their quarterback's going to be next year. Brock Purdy, what's going on with the arm, Trey Lance. Yep. What are they going to do? And yet still, they are admired in Vegas. The odds makers still love them, despite the fact that the most important position, arguably in all of sports, is so unsettled for this team. Tells you just how good the supporting cast is around whoever they put at that position. It's just remarkable to me. I've never seen anything like it. I can't ever remember a year where a team has been, a top 5 favorite, basically to win the Super Bowl, without anybody even knowing who the quarterback's going to be.
No, they're ridiculously loaded. I mean, they have all pros legitimately in every position room meeting on the field except for quarterback. Everywhere. Running back, tight end, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, safety, so DBs, everywhere. It's outrageous. And in a lot of cases, multiple guys in each room. Like it's staggering, but the question becomes how far can you get with a quarterback room like that? And the answer recently has been far, real far, not far enough. I still think if you're the 49ers, you got to figure this out. You got to figure it out at quarterback, which is why I really think they could have been dangerous for Rodgers here. I know people float the Lamar Jackson stuff. They can't afford Lamar Jackson with all those other salaries. But they could have afforded a $16 million cap hit with Aaron Rodgers. That they could have done. And that's what it would have been if they had acquired him via trade. But wasn't to be, because the Jets gave up more than I think most people thought they should have gave up.
Is the Brady thing still floating out there?
My understanding, and I think I shouldn't say it's my understanding. From reading about that situation, it seems that he's either the Dolphins or nowhere else.
Really?
Now, maybe some of that, yeah. And I think, and I'm not him.
I mean, I've seen the Dolphins stuff, so I don't want to act like I'm surprised about it. But I am surprised that it's Dolphins or bust.
I think, and I'm not him. I don't want to speak for him, but I wonder if some of that has to do with the fact, everything going on in his personal life. Like his family's in Florida. Does he want to relocate all the way across the country? It's not like he's going to go play in Carolina. It's like it's all the way out. Now, maybe that's not a factor. Maybe it is. Again, I can't speak to that. I'm not him. But just thinking from a human being standpoint, maybe for him that's something that would be a deal breaker. Now, of course, he's from the San Francisco area, so that in that regard, you look at it and go, "It's a perfect fit. It's a dream come true." But it sounds like it's Miami or it's retirement, and right now, I think it's probably retirement unless something happens.
Give me a thought on the draft after number 1. Is this the most unpredictable draft we've seen?
Probably. I've asked a lot of people in the league about this. Like, why is there such a thought that there's going to be so much volatility in this draft? I think a lot of people sit there and say, well, look at, let's say take receivers, for example. I think Jackson Smith in the Jig is probably the number 1 guy on most boards. If I asked 10 GMs to rank 2 through 6 on their board, I guarantee you every one of them is different. It's just, and that's not just a receiver. That's in a lot of positions. Tight end, corner, once you get past the very, very cream of the crop with Witherspoon and Gonzalez. It's across the board. There's so much that you just don't know. And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Can I hold you for a minute? I wasn't going to, but could I?
Sure.
You sure?
Listen, I'm here. You got me captive. I'm not going anywhere.
Matt Verderam's going to come back with us. I want to finish a couple of draft thoughts with him. The caching continues on SportsMap Radio. You sure? No, I changed my mind. I'm not coming. I'm not going to come back for the next segment. One of the most unexpected just talking during the break with Matt Verderam. Just talking during the break with Matt Verderam. He's headed to the draft on Thursday with no idea what to expect. I mean, it's really one of the most unexpected draft scenarios. I mean, you've got remember when this whole thing started, as we started to work through the winter and then the spring, Will Levis's stock was dropping. There was talk he might not even be the third quarterback taken. Now there's talk he could be the second quarterback taken. Like, it's just all over the charts right now.
Let me say this, okay, which I guess is embarrassing to me and also my media brethren, but it's true. We don't know anything about the draft. I always laugh when people say stuff with like unbelievable amounts of conviction, which, by the way, is kind of my brand. Like, that's simply what I do. But in this case, you don't know. You're not in the room with these people. You don't know what trades are going on behind the scenes. You have no idea what some guy's board is. I don't care how good of a source you have in the front office. You think they're taking a picture of their draft board and sending it over to you? Like, you don't know the truth. And you know, all it takes, and this is a cliche, but it's so true. All it takes is one team to just love some guy. And that's how you end up with Cole Strange in the first round. That's how that happens. That's how Damon Arnett's a first-round pick when everybody else in the world thought he was going to be pick number 70. Right? Like, because you know what? The Raiders just woke up on that Thursday and said, you know what? Damon Arnett's a pretty good player out of Ohio State. I mean, it happens. When the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes, there were multiple outlets that gave them an F and said that they reached. And you know what? Those people weren't crazy at the time by popular thought. A lot of people thought they reached, and a lot of people felt like Mitchell Trubisky was the safest quarterback in that draft. And that's because none of us know a damn thing about the NFL draft, which is what makes it fun. It's what makes it interesting. And it really makes it fun when you look back in 5 years and go, can you believe that guy got to the fourth round? Or can you believe somebody took that guy sixth overall? That's part of it. That's the fun of it.
Do you believe Rand Carthon, the Titans GM, when he says they haven't had any calls, they haven't been taking calls on Derrick Henry?
I believe that they're not in a place where they have like a bunch of bidders because, look, Derrick Henry's a great player. He's a running back who's on the back end of his career. I don't care how great he is. Like, at some point, the wheels are coming off that bus. He's a great player. I don't think that they're going to get the value back for him that makes it sensible to trade him. Now, could be wrong. Could get a team that could just say, hey, we'll give you a second-round pick. But if you're the Titans, like, don't you at least need a second to trade him? I mean, don't you at least need that? Because if you trade him, what is your franchise? What jerseys are you selling at the team store? And I know people would say, well, that shouldn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. Owners care about that stuff. And I just think with him, you at least have an offensive identity. Without him, it's Ryan Tannehill and what? And I just think you need to get value back where you can at least go to your fans and go, hey, listen, we had to make this move. And I think that value is going to be a second. I don't know how many teams are going to give them a second-round pick.
I'm wondering, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because on Friday we had this breaking news story about these guys that got suspended for violating the league's gambling violations and all that stuff. Now that it's had a few days to settle, what are the reverberations from this around the league?
I think it's a lot of the same stuff, with when Ridley got popped, which is, look, you all know the reality of this. I mean, every player in the league knows. You cannot gamble on the NFL. You cannot gamble on other sports. Now, I've seen a lot of pushback with, you should be able to gamble. Why can't they? First of all, anybody who thinks you should be able to gamble on the NFL is insane. Okay? That is a question of the integrity of the game. The NFL is right to hammer these guys anytime somebody bets on NFL games. I don't have a problem with some guy in the league betting $10 on Heat Bucks. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I don't know why that matters. But I wrote a piece for us after all that happened and kind of breaking down like the tenets of the gambling policy. If you play fantasy football and you're an NFL player, you cannot play daily fantasy football. You also can play in a league that runs throughout the course of the year, but you can't win a cash prize more than $250. So they have very strict rules, and these are, by the way, made very clear to every player at the beginning of the year. It's posted in every facility. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I have no sympathy for any of these guys who get popped for this stuff. You have to know better than this. And yet guys don't. And so look, I think it's just going to be a thing where teams take the opportunity, agents take the opportunity to talk to the players and say, look, read the gambling policy. Know it backwards and forwards, because if you get popped for this, nobody's coming to your defense. And these guys who just did it, these 5 who got suspended, 4 in Detroit, 1 in Washington, find that out the hard way.
Last one before I let you go. Back to, it kind of relates to the draft as well. I was reading an interesting article over on one of your competitors today about how NIL rules have, in particular, thinned out the NFL draft QB class. But I wonder in general how NIL is going to make the jobs harder for scouts, because at some of these bigger schools where these kids are getting paydays to stay in school now and help teams win national championships, how much more difficult is that making it for scouts and talent evaluators who might have to go next level, even next level beyond that, to find draft talent, especially when you start getting later in the draft?
So we could spend an hour talking about all this stuff, but the NIL deals obviously have changed the face of college football, in the sense that you're going to have guys transferring more because guys are going to want to be able to get their faces out there and be starters and get deals, and they're not going to want to sit behind some guy for 2 years. They don't want to do that, not if they're a big prospect. But I think in terms of how it relates to the NFL draft, you're right. I mean, if you're a player and you're making $1 million, why the hell did you come out and go to the NFL? For what? I mean, stay in college, keep rolling. Now, depends on your situation. You may be making that money, but you might also say, hey, look, I want to get that $25 million guaranteed as soon as humanly possible, right? Because I need to lock in and feed my family and take care of my parents and whatever else the case may be. If you're a guy, though, who's well off, or you come from an area where you don't have to worry about stuff like that, you're probably staying and partying for 4 years and getting $1 million a year, right? Like, why wouldn't you? So I do think it changes that. I also think it becomes interesting, like how, I think as an evaluator, you've got to really work into the motivations of the player you're looking at. And some people might say it's not fair, but I think that's absolutely fair. Like, you need to know, look, does this guy play football because he loves football and the money is just a really nice side benefit? Or is this guy playing football because he just wants some money and, like, he already made $5 million and I don't know how motivated he's going to be by the time he rolls into camp? I mean, that's a real question. So I think that's the tricky part. It adds a lot of layers to all this stuff, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Matt Verderam, check out his work, SI.com. Does a great job on the NFL. Follow him at the draft. He'll be there on Thursday and Friday for the first couple of days of that. And again, SI.com. Go and check him out. Matt, I always appreciate it, my friend. Be well.
You got it. Take care, Jason.
Matt Verderam giving us some time on the show. All right, we got drama in Los Angeles. LeBron James ties it late for the Lakers after Ja Morant gave the Grizzlies a 2-point lead. They go to overtime. Lakers up on the Grizz 109-106 with 2 minutes to play in that overtime. Boy, Desmond Bane cannot buy a bucket right now. Cannot buy one. And boy, oh boy. I mean, if the Grizzlies lose this game, Desmond Bane's going to have a rough night of sleep ahead of him. All these players look gassed right now. Justin, am I wrong? All these guys look like they are just positively gassed right now. Oh. These guys look absolutely dead tired. 2 minutes to go. Lakers up 3. And we'll see what happens here. We won't be on the air for the conclusion of it. But reminder, we told you Lakers -3.5. We told you Lakers +1.5. We'll see how it plays out. Overtime is not the friend of a lot of sports bettors. It might be in this case, though. We'll have to wait and see. Lakers up again by 3 with just under 2 to play with a timeout on the floor. All right, we're back with you tomorrow night again. We're off Thursday and Friday this week. We are back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Nice job, as always, Justin Barbosa producing it. Before we let you go, by the way, 4:36 to go, third period. Colorado and Seattle tied at 2, with Colorado up 2-1 in that series. So the Kraken in Seattle trying to get that thing knotted up at 2 games apiece. All right, we'll catch you back here tomorrow night. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, all our video platforms as well. I'm Jason Page. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. To the Cash In. Bye. Thank you, man. Talk to you Wednesday. Bye. All right. That's going to do it for us on the video side as well. I got a basketball game to go watch. Hope you guys all have a great night. Thank you for watching. Hope you like our new setup here. We'll see you back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, SportsMap Radio, and all of our video platforms. Talk to you all later. Have a good night. Bye.